So I wanted to welcome all of you. And if you're new, please let us know. We always like to welcome you. There's some of us that have been here for a while now, and we always like to welcome the newbies and really thank you for being here with us, for joining us. So if you're new, let us know in the chat if this is your first time. Often we just I talk a little bit about our theme. It's a very, very laid back kind of practice, the way we do it, and then we practice together, and then we have a little bit of an opportunity at the end for a half hour. The last half hour, we just go into breakout rooms and we get to practice our mindful communication. And this could be one of the most challenging practices for us, to be in the presence of one another. That can make a big difference. And hopefully we keep the environment as safe as we can. And if we, don't feel comfortable, we can always leave the breakout rooms. But that being said, enough words. Let's get comfortable. So finding a pose that works for you. First time, Ari. Oh my gosh, Ari, welcome. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Everybody, we can all say hi to Ari. It's his first time. Yeah, I haven't been here. Kevin, welcome as well. Just reading quickly through here. If I missed anyone, welcome everybody. Good to have you. Thank you for joining us. And so, thank you everybody for welcoming our new guest, which will be not a guest after this one time. So you'll be part of the community now. So maybe just taking in a deep breath and just noticing what you're present with at this moment as you adjust your pose. However that looks for you. If you're sleepy, you might want to sit up a little bit. If you're really tired, if you have a lot of energy, then you might just want to, hold the pose in a way that brings stillness into the moment. And even if there's a lot of energy in the body, what could be helpful is to just contract the body really tight and with a deep inhale, and then just kind of letting go. So that kind of releases a lot of energy in the body that can be moving around. So just settle in here in the moment, welcoming yourself to this moment. And eyes open or eyes closed. Just tuning in to seeing what you're present with at this moment. How's the body feeling? What are some sensations? Is there any tension, any tightness? Always starting with the body, because it's already here. Even if we're not, even if the mind is elsewhere, the body is already here. So just tuning into it. Perhaps feeling the heaviness or the lightness of the body, and just allowing it to settle here into the surface, holding you. Noticing if there's any tension, any tightness here. And then whatever you find tension or tightness, just an invitation to soften around it. And that means not trying too hard to make it go away, not fighting it or resisting it, just paying attention to it. Chances are that all these things just need attention. That's it. So as you place your attention in the body, just noticing what happens. And if it feels right for you, maybe allowing the shoulders to drop, the jaw to release, the tongue to gently just rest at the bottom of the mouth. And then as a supportive sign, nurturing sign to the body, to ourselves. Maybe you can find a way of embracing yourself, maybe sometimes holding the thumb with one hand could be helpful. Clasping the hands together. Bringing your hands to your heart. And if the breath is available, just allowing the breath to gently flow naturally. And as you hold yourself in this way, just noticing when I say the word love, what comes to mind, what is felt in the body. Self-love, self-nourishing. And so allowing yourself to check in with the heart. Are there any emotions here right now? And can we give a space to whatever is here at this moment? And by space, I mean, can we get to know the emotion? Maybe joy, happiness. It could be fear or anger as well, sadness, whatever it is, just noticing it and allowing it to just be here for a moment, giving it some time. And by giving space, we're saying, noticing where you feel it in the body. It's in the body where we feel the emotion before we even translate it in the mind and give it a word. Sometimes joy can feel all over the body, energy accelerating. Happiness could be that way too. Sadness sometimes could feel in the heart or the gut. Anger could be felt in many places, sometimes in our hands, in our arms. So just knowing that these are just energies that come and go. And then find ways to nurturing this emotion, parenting this part of us that is feeling it. And so we're always making sure that we're checking in with the heart. Sometimes you might notice that the heart's really closed, really tight. This happens when emotions are overwhelming. It closes, it's a protection. So we can just give it space in this way and allow it. And always knowing that it will pass. And if it's possible for you to breathe a bit deeper than your normal way of breathing, maybe taking in a deeper breath than normal. And if not, just allowing the body to breathe normally. But seeing if you can just make the exhale a bit longer, even if you're breathing normally, just allowing the exhale to drag a little bit longer. Exhaling all the air. Now let's do that one more time. Taking in a deeper than normal breath, if that's possible. And exhaling long, emptying all the air from the body. Holding yourself with kindness right now, tenderness. And as we do this, just noticing, becoming aware of any thoughts that might be here. And allowing this attention to thoughts to be carried by a non-judgmental attitude. There's no right or wrong, good or bad. But just noticing the thinking mind in action. Allowing it, opening up to it. Chances are that as soon as we say, let's pay attention to thoughts, they all dissipate, they kind of hide. And so there's a thought, I have no thoughts right now. And that's a thought as well. And so just becoming aware of the entire experience in the thinking mind. Knowing that thoughts are just thoughts. Even judgment is a thought. If you notice any overwhelmed at any moment, you can always take in a couple of deep breaths or hold yourself in a compassionate way. Open your eyes, shift your pose, tuning into what you need in this moment. But if you're with us, just noticing the thinking mind. And as you pay attention to the thinking mind, you might notice that thoughts come as words, phrases, images. Sometimes it can show up as a little movie clip, just a thinking mind. So really becoming curious about this process and allowing the thoughts to just pass as if there were clouds in the sky. You might even be able to notice their charge, just like clouds can be fluffy sometimes, or can be gray and charged before rain. So then they all pass, don't they? They keep moving. So in the same way, when we're watching thoughts, we'll just allow them to pass without entertaining them or getting caught up in the thought. Just acknowledging them and allowing them to pass. And we can even remind ourselves that we're the sky and not the clouds. And we can hold these thoughts with great awareness and non-judgment. And just noticing how some thoughts, just like the clouds, they bring a weather of their own. Some produce storms and lightning. And some just open up and allow the sun to filter through, and that's absolutely okay. Either way, it's okay. Here's where the non-judgment part comes in. That we have the awareness to hold it all, just like the sky, vast. And this vast awareness, in a way, is like taking us right above the clouds, where we can observe the clouds just moving. The same way we can observe our thoughts just moving. And you might notice how they kind of rise. They come to be for a little bit and then they pass, and another one comes in. And sometimes they're linked together into random thoughts. And sometimes they're creating stories based in the moment. Often they're projecting to the past or the future. But none of it is here right now, except for this awareness, which is right in the moment. And perhaps we can acknowledge that these thoughts are often informed by the past. And they're opinionated and they have kind of a life of their own. But often they come from past ideas, past opinions, perceptions that we have of the world. But as you observe these thoughts, you can always come back to the certainty of this moment. Your feet on the ground, if they're on the ground. This body sitting or lying here. And everything else just passes. Natural process of the mind. And so perhaps we can just recognize them as natural mental events, occurrences of the thinking mind. That's it. There's a little story that says that life can be a little bit like drifting down a beautiful river. And he says, life can be like drifting down a beautiful river at dusk in a little boat. Everything seems perfect. Everything seems peaceful. And then we see a little boat off on the horizon, moving slowly in our direction. And as the other boat gets closer, we begin to worry. Will it run into me? Will it sink my boat? And as the boats come quickly together, we get more and more energized. We start by waving our arms and yelling, hey, over there, move your boat away from me. And as the boat gets closer still, we become afraid of a collision. We think it might leave us drowning in the water. So we stand up, we jump up and down and shout, stop your boat, turn away. And then the boat, this little boat, smashes right into your boat. But then we find out that the boat is empty. There's no damage. And it just drifts harmlessly away on the river's current. And that's the idea we see in our thoughts as the clouds in the sky. Some of them are fully energized. They carry a weather of their own. Some of them allow for the sun to filter, creating a beautiful cascading of rays of the sun. Others are kind of blocking the sun, giving a little bit of shade in a sunny day. And so in this way, we can learn to just embrace this activity of the mind, knowing that everything will pass. We might notice that some are unpleasant and pleasant, some are neutral. But in this way, we just allow the thoughts, moment by moment. So I was talking to somebody this week, and this poem came to mind as I was talking to this person, and it says, walk lightly, child. And it's written by Aldous Huxley. I might be mispronouncing that name, apologies. It says, it's dark because you're trying too hard. Lightly, child, lightly. Learn to do everything lightly. Yes, feel lightly even though you're feeling deeply. Just lightly let things happen and lightly cope with them. Lightly, lightly is the best advice ever given. So throw away your baggage and go forward. Their quicksands all about you, sucking your feet, trying to suck you down into fear and self-pity and despair. That's why you must walk so lightly. Lightly, my darling. On tiptoes and no luggage. Not even a sponge bag. Completely unencumbered. So walking lightly, observing lightly, moving lightly. So as we come to the end of this time together, this practice, we're just allowing for the body to respond to any movement that it needs right now. Or maybe rotating the neck, stretching the arms, opening the eyes if they're closed. So there's a quote by the Buddha, and he says, and this has been changed quite a bit, so I don't even know if this is the right quote. Sometimes they say it as, with our thoughts, we create the world, and sometimes I've seen it as, with our minds, we create the world. The second one seems more like it, but it's all related. And so with our minds, we create the world. And our thoughts create our world, right? And that makes a lot of sense. For instance, if we think that we live in a hostile world, we're always going to be defensive, right? We're always going to be on the edge. And if we think we live in a happy, peaceful world, we're going to walk with much ease. So something that I learned in one of my trainings with Dr. Gabor Mate was that he says that also the world created our minds way before. And so these observing thoughts could be so powerful because we learn to see what is really our programming moment to moment. What are beliefs and how are those beliefs running our lives? And if we pay attention to the stories of the moment, we get to see what kind of world do we live in. And then we can do something about it, right? With mindfulness, we have this awareness now. And now I know that maybe at moments when the world becomes an unsafe place for me and I'm living in an unsafe world. And I'm not talking about safety, real safety, where our life is in jeopardy. I'm talking about the process of the mind, when sometimes, we believe that this is dangerous, but really it's just the mind, just like with the boats. That's kind of the example I'm talking about, that, the person started really having so much fear that the boat was going to smash and really panicked. But in the long run, realized that, well, there was nobody there. And so the fear was driving in that moment. So when we kind of are in the states, or if we think that the world is hostile as well, maybe we can just notice that. And instead of reacting, this is mindfulness again, right? It's the reactivity that continues to reinforce these patterns in our lives, the pushing away or the wanting to make things different than they are. But when we can kind of just observe what's happening, we come back to the moment and we realize that sometimes it's the past playing in the present. It's our wiring that's creating this view that we have. And so have you noticed how some people might think that even in a conversation, so-and-so said this, and that person said, oh, I didn't hear it that way. And then you're like, no, they said this. So we hear things differently. That's the idea with watching our thoughts, that we can kind of notice when the thoughts rise and pay attention to them, notice the story. And perhaps in there, if we do a little bit of inquiry, if we stay with that a little bit, we can see what the belief is, so we can now nurture ourselves. And that's what we started with, this sense of love, right? Loving kindness is what we call it as well. Bringing ourselves to a place of kindness. And there's no bigger kindness in this practice than being with ourselves in this way, because it's not easy, it's hard work. And so if anything, after each practice, we could actually acknowledge that this takes some work and some effort, and that it's not easy. And sometimes when we start seeing our thoughts, in my personal opinion, my personal way of doing it is like, sometimes I see my thoughts and I just go like, seriously, Alex? Like, really? And I just smile and laugh. And so we can bring a little bit of sense of humor, even for some of the things we think that sometimes are just so, far from what's happening. And so this is really when the reactivity comes in, and this is our fine line. when there's that reactivity, we know that there's something in there driving the thought. Because when we are actually in reality, we notice that something is dangerous, but there is no that agitation. We just know what we need to do, right? Like if I'm swimming and I know that the waves are really getting really big, but I'm confident on my swim, at that moment, instead of panicking, I know that I need to swim the other way. I know that I need to let the waves take me. But if I'm swimming and I don't know how to swim very well, when I see the waves, I am going to panic. And so we start really noticing what these thoughts are doing in the body. And we kind of tune into this. When you notice that agitation, then you can know, what's the story I'm telling myself right now? Where is this coming from? What's my belief in this moment? And when I believe this, how is the world? What kind of world am I living in that moment? And that could be really helpful to know as well. And so then I can take care of myself, right? Then I can do something about it. So the practice, if I could leave you with anything for today, the practice for this week until next week, it would just be to really gently, just gently, with this non-judgmental attitude, just watch the thinking mind and see what it offers. And there might be some jewels in there. There might be a way in which these thoughts are trying to tell you that, this is a belief that I'm just running my life. This is a set beliefs around my life. And maybe I can nurture myself. Maybe I can take care of myself in a better way instead of pushing them away, instead of wanting it to be over. What are you trying to tell me? And then inviting a sense of gratitude, which can be sometimes hard, but we can invite a sense of gratitude for whatever it is that comes our way. So that being said, I have a deep gratitude towards you. And I thank you so much for practicing with me, for being here with us, and for joining our family, our tribe.